Hello, everyone. My name is Natasha Kozakowska, and I'm the automation architect here at Advania, and I'll be later joined by Oliver Wall to talk about the Business Central part of the presentation today. So I'm really excited to talk to you about the automation capabilities that we have as Advania and how we can bring you from manual processes into magical automation experiences. Here's a little statistic. Gartner expects that by 2026, 30% of enterprises will automate more than half of their network activities. And this statistic really highlights how important automation will be. And it's not only about automating your manual processes, it's about staying ahead. It's about staying competitive. Because if everyone else is automating their processes and you're still doing them manually, you're losing valuable time that you could be spending on strategic tasks.
Absolutely.
In terms of our capabilities as a team, through working with clients, we've identified these three areas to home in on. First one is modernization, where we work with organizations to modernize their current processes. So this could, for example, be a legacy application that now can be replaced through a modern UI and a nicely looking Power App. Or it could be could be a paper form that was transformed into a Canvas app where people can just fill out the data. Through automation, where we can support you with delivery of automation experiences that I'll show you in more detail in just a second. And last but not least, there's governance and maker enablement. So without all of this governance, so without the security, without identifying best practices and strategies for these tools, and I'm talking here specifically about the Power Platform, which I'll walk you through in a second, none of this would really be possible. So while you are able to implement one or two automation solutions, if you ask, if this is not secure and if it's not implemented the right way, straight away, you can find yourself in a bit of a mess. And we can also sort through this little bit of a mess. So we have a few clients who come with us with issues around having too many apps, people building applications in wrong environments, et cetera, and we come in and we help them remediate and we help them define where they should be building it, who should be building it, what training and skills do you need to have to, for example, get access to Premium Power Automate licensing. And we also have the maker enablement, where it's not only about the solutions and what solutions we can build for you, but how we can enable your users and yourselves to build these automations and applications yourselves. So we've identified 3 automation experiences, which all of you will have in your companies. This can be in a very mature state or in a very immature state, or may not yet be realized. So starting from personal automation, this is where employees use automation to complete their tasks more efficiently. And a very immature example of such a personal automation would be, for example, a user going to ChatGPT, which is public, and go and ask it about something because they want to make their work easier. While a mature state of that would be that they have Copilot available and that's secure, and this is built for their organization. Then we've got defined automation where we can instruct technology, for example, automation flows, to lead these repetitive processes. So I'll show you a few examples in a second. And intelligent automation goes a step further where it can use the AI and it doesn't need any human interaction, and it can analyze, for example, text, attachments, and sentiment through the business process. As I mentioned, an example of personal automation, maybe I want to automatically save files when an email arrives to my mailbox. Very simple, very straightforward. Defined automation goes a step further. So for example, you may want to do that for your whole team. So if a file arrives in a shared mailbox, you want to read the contents of that file or the title of the file. And if the customer domain from which the email was received is this, direct it to that folder and store it there. And intelligent automation is able to make these decisions themselves. So we don't need to give them the exact buckets of where you should go in, but it's able to figure it out itself. We can help you realize all of these experiences for a series of different capabilities. So I did mention briefly end user applications. So we can build very simple, very quick applications to help you automate some of these experiences. We also use bots, and as Dan mentioned, we now have the ability to build custom agents. So within Copilot Studio, we can build specific chatbots. For example, it can be an employee onboarding chatbot, it can be an HR chatbot. And just like this, you can very easily automate a very manual process. And of course, throughout all of these experiences, we use data processing. So as I mentioned, conditional logic, what happens if that file is dated, for example, before January, do this. If it's dated after, do that. And it's really quite simple to get started with that. It's literally one step that you can do. Then we've got RPA, robotic process automation, that Dan also mentioned briefly, where we can automate legacy applications. So it doesn't need to have an API. We can literally mimic the clicking of a human. Integration is a very, very important element of that. So it's connecting to maybe third-party services. Maybe it's connecting to your CRMs that are not in Microsoft. We can do that. Agentic AI, which is that very intelligent AI, where we are completely removing the human from the loop, and it's able to analyze and make its own decisions. And last but not least, the governance, so what brings it all together. We also have a accelerated experiences catalog, and these are just some solutions that we can get you up and started with very quickly. So we have pre-built all of these apps and automations, and we can help you customize them the way that they can meet your business needs. And if you want to chat about these in more detail later, feel free to catch me. One example of one of these experiences is an employee recognition app that we've built in less than 5 days. So you can kind of see how quickly you can get up to speed in building things within the Power Platform. So for this use case specifically, we used Power Apps, where we redesigned a shout-out process for employees. So previously, the process was that each employee could give anyone within the business £10 a year as a thank you, you've done a great job. But that would be done once a year at the end of the year, and the manager would need to go and send these vouchers individually to thousands of employees. Now this is instant, where you can literally go to the app, say, send £5 to this person with a little comment. The person receives the voucher code, and that's it. It literally takes minutes. So it's all fully automated. The only thing that the manager now needs to do is to provide all of the voucher codes just once a year.
Good.
Another example, also using Power Apps, but it will literally use the whole stack of the Power Platform, is where we helped a financial company with distribution of reports to banks. So their previous process was very, very manual, where it was based on legacy Excel macros, where only one report could be generated at any one time. So that would mean that if you have 200 banks to send a report to monthly, you need to click 200 times. Then you need to take that file, put it in an email, and send it to a recipient. Obviously, very error prone, because it's very easy to send the wrong file to the wrong person. What we've done, we have created a front end, which is a Canvas app. This is a very basic UI, and the reason why it's so basic, it was embedded within a larger SharePoint page, so it had to be quite in keeping with the style, where you get a choice of participants. So a bank, you can either choose to select all participants, which basically gives you the ability to generate all of these hundreds of reports at one time. Then you just do a few selections of month and year. Then it shows up a very basic confirmation message. And from that, it calls a Power Automate flow. Within that Power Automate flow, we are then able to call other services, and we are calling Power BI, SharePoint Online, and Outlook. And the way that we are doing this is we are finding a specific Power BI report. Then we are filtering that Power BI report for that particular bank. We are saving it into an Excel format. It can be any format, could be PDF, could be Word, you name it. And we are saving it into a specific library that only this bank has got access to. Then we send them an automated email saying, your new report is ready to view and download. And like that, literally hours of work turned into minutes. I did mention these Power Platform technologies briefly. So we've got Power Automate, Power Apps, Power BI, and Copilot Studio. And you can see how all of these tools complement one another. So for example, with Power Automate, you can automate the actions that are happening within your app, but also you can do it the other way around. Same with Power BI, where you can analyze data that was contained within an app, and it all kind of works together very smoothly, but not just within the Power Platform stack. So you can see how Power Platform is embedded within Microsoft. And I gave you an example of how it, for example, interacts with SharePoint Online. It can, for example, grab details of all of your employees through a users connector. It can do a lot of stuff. And there are more than 1,000 connectors at the moment, not only to the Microsoft stack, but also third-party software. And these are just some examples. So let's say that not all of your data is within Microsoft. We can easily connect to that. And we can also create custom connectors. So if there is an API, we can easily get connected to that as well. And the one important bit that I want to bring your attention to is the Dynamics 365 and Business Central connectivity. And with that, I'll hand over to Oliver.
Where Natasha sort of left us here is, and just an example of where Power Automate is embedded already within inside the business application, inside of Business Central. So within that, without having to sort of any additional setup or anything around Power Up setup, you get some of these features embedded within Business Central. So I'm jumping ahead a little bit by talking around Business Central without first sort of, for anyone in the room who doesn't know what Business Central is. Business Central is an ERP application by Microsoft. I know we've got a few people in the room that are already using Business Central. That's great. That means you're already in that Microsoft stack. It means you can already start making use of some of these tools and some of the things within the automation, easy ways to automate some processes you're doing. And I've included quite a few of these sort of headline slides, some they're quite catchy. So this one here is inadequate systems inhibit growth and make it difficult to adapt to disruptions and rapid change. So within any business application, you need to be able to allow it. You need to be able to grow with your business. You need to be able to change as your business changes, also as sort of the ecosystem around your business changes. And you need to be able to adapt. So as things change sort of in the marketplace, also in, sort of regulatory terms, in terms of making tech digital, things like that, you need your business application to be able to move with you with that. So how can the right system do that? So there's a few points on here that all sort of work around what should in the AI world, what should a business application be able to do? So make better business decisions. So with that, you need access to data, eliminate manual workarounds, which really touched on the points that sort of Natasha was making before around how can we remove some manual things, and what is manual is sort of changing by definition. The fact you could email out of an ERP system 10 years ago was seen as a real bit of automation, whereas now you're almost looking at saying that's quite a manual thing. How can we automate? Why have I got to read an email in and have it tell me stuff when I can get something like AI or Copilot to do that? So some of these things are ever evolving. Automate key processes. So how can we use things like Power Automate to automate some bits we've got around? I've worked with a lot of clients who are moving towards newer systems and they're still using paper trails for stuff. Approvals going by paper trails, things going down to a warehouse needing paper trails. So you start looking at going, why does that need to happen? How can we automate some of that? How can we drive that through the system? So some of that comes from your core products, like Business Central. Some of it, though, is where we go, what can we use outside of Business Central to sort of help with that? So that might be some things that you can you just enable them within app, or it could be where we start tapping things like Power Platform, Copilot, and things like that. And also things that sit within the Microsoft stack, sort of out of the box. There's also the bits on here in terms of complying with auditory requirements. The right system should be able to, something new comes up in the, a new requirement comes up. So I use Making Tax Digital a lot because that came up in sort of the last 5 years where that came to us overnight and we had to be able to go, right, we need our systems out to be able to do that. We've seen some things around sustainability where we're like, okay, that's become a big requirement. We need our system to be able to enable us to do that. Enhancing digital security. So security is a big one. As that keeps evolving, keeps changing, we need to make sure the systems we're implementing allow us to move with those security compliances and ultimately boost productivity. So with things like Outlook, Excel, and Teams. So I touched before on what Business Central was. So for anyone in the room who's not heard or seen of Business Central, it's Microsoft's SMB flagship ERP. So it's used by over 40,000 customers worldwide. It was Forbes' top ERP for 2024. And it's